here today to talk to you about seed starting, and I'm going to share with you some of the tips and tricks that I've learned over my years of seed starting at home. So the very first thing I like to do is to gather all of my supplies. There are 5 main supplies for you to gather. Number 1 is your seeds. Number 2 is your soil. 3 are the containers that you're going to put your seeds into. 4 are your recording devices, because it's really important to keep track of what you are planting. And 5 is water. I'm going to do a quick tutorial on seed packets. I love Fedco seeds because it has a lot of really useful information on the packets. It tells me what the pack contains. So for today we're going to be starting snapdragons. It tells me the year that the seeds were purchased and the germination rate. Not all seed packs give you a germination rate, and this is something that I find especially useful so I can know how many seeds to plant. If your packet doesn't say, a quick Google search can probably help you figure that out. The next thing is the soil. Without seasoned soil, you're not going to get very far. So those are the 2 most important things. I really like to use Coast of Maine Bar Harbor Blend. Coast of Maine has several different products for their soil medium. I like this for all of my container gardening purposes. The next thing to talk about is containers. There are so many different containers that you can use for starting your seeds, and ultimately it doesn't matter that much as long as you have the right seed for the right container. For example, starting with my least favorite option, egg cartons. Egg cartons give pretty shallow depth for starting seeds, so only little small seeds can go in here. Any annual flowers, not sunflowers, those seeds are too big, but little flowers like alyssum, cosmos, marigold are fine to start in here, as little greens like lettuce and other tender greens. Plastic clamshells, probably all of us have some sort of plastic thing at home. If not, good for you, but these are great. They're like little mini greenhouses all on their own. Toilet paper tubes make great seed starting containers, as does newspaper. There are all kinds of tutorials on how to make these yourself on the internet, and I will share some links for those with you, having materials to record what you wrote, having your garden notebook, and something to label your individual pot, and finally water. So the perennial question is how to water and how much. So some rules to think about. You want your soil to be so that when you pull it out and you give it a squeeze, it holds in place. Compared to soil that is too dry, I squeeze it and it just falls apart. Soil that is, if you water your soil, I like to water it right into the bag before I plant my seeds. For little seeds like snapdragons that we're going to plant today, if you put it into dry soil and then water it, those seeds can just wash away. So I like to water right into the bag. Be sure to give it a really good stir around, and you can know if it's too wet if you pull it out and give it a squeeze and it drips. That's way too wet. So you definitely want to stir it around to get it so that it doesn't drip and it holds together. Once you have your soil at the right moisture, you can fill your containers. I like to do it all over the bag and over a bin. That way any soil that falls aside will be in there for using at the end when I start running out. So I plop it in here, and then I give just a gentle pat to make sure it's nice and even and there aren't any big air pockets. I don't want to take out all the airspace by really pushing it in there, so just gentle pats. This little newspaper pot will let water kind of flow through it pretty well, so I like to have it in some kind of container, and you can use something like a loaf pan or a baking tray, or even some plastic container that isn't being used in your house. Alright, we are going to plant pepper seeds. And the rule of thumb is to only plant the seed 3 times as deep as the seed itself. So here is the pepper seed. So if I measured that, it's pretty shallow. I only want to put 1 seed, maybe 2 depending on the germination rate, per pot. So I'll poke little holes in there, plant my seed, These are kind of old seeds, so I'm going to go ahead and do 2. Put the other seed in there, and then just gently cover them up. Now, I want to be sure that I label. I like to use popsicle sticks and a Sharpie. This is a pretty big popsicle stick for a little pack, so I might break it in half. I'll write today's date and the seed that I put in there. I also record it in my garden notes. I aspire to record the date that I seeded, when they germinated, when they transplanted, and when I first harvested. I don't always get to that to all things, but it's the aspiration because it's really good to know timing so you can record that year after year. And finally, last but not least, some fun family seed starting activities. Seed buddies are a great fun thing. You can use absolutely any container you have at home. It could be an disused coffee mug, it could be a plastic cup you have laying around, it could be a yogurt container. We just had these plastic cups from who knows when. So I drew a little face on there, I planted some parsley seeds, and now I can give my little seed buddy a haircut and eat these parsley seeds. This is a great way to get kids trying new vegetables that they might not eat by picking off a little hair from their seed buddy. You don't want them eating the roots, but the green part, delicious. You could even work to carve a little mohawk haircut for your seed buddy. And then if you want for your whole family to enjoy doing something like microgreens. So these were old parsley seeds. I didn't know how much they would germinate, and I just sprinkled a whole bunch of them in there. And then you just give them a haircut and add them to your soup or stew or sandwich or whatever you want. And that is seed starting.